This is the Between Ghosts of El Paso part. What do we think?
12?
11, 12? I don't know.
I think it's
Um,
11.
I think it's 11. Yeah, I think it is.
11, according to your YouTube.
Okay, good. All right, part 11. Let's do a recap. Um, Taking a look at the threats, we have three active threats: Ghost Be Gone, the Blue Boy, and the Hunt for Rebel Gold. Last time we saw the immediate problem of the hunt for Rebel Gold, which is that the Memphis has reached the part of the Rio Grande River that is directly by El Paso, and so it started firing its spectral cannons on the town, and that was a big problem. Fortunately, you have unlocked the final question, which is how can we use the gold to get the Memphis to pass on to the next world? And you have two clues on that already. So on a complexity 4. Ghost Be Gone, we have three different questions, three different approaches to what to do about Dr. Clarkson. Dr. Clarkson's story got significantly more interesting last week when we discovered that he was working with, or not working with, but engaged in an affair with Daisy Pryor, one of the early victims of the Ghost Be Gone's inability to actually repel ghosts. And we had some other things there was a lot of innuendo going on in that scene. And so there's, that's a hot one. And then we have the Blue Boy, which we had been kind of ignoring until it became unignorable. You took a carriage ride with said Blue Boy, uncovered a couple of clues, but then did not go to the party in order to go back to town, which I think was probably the right move. Let's take a look at the characters. The Sidewinder Kid has 3 conditions. Sister Mary has 2, neither of which can be removed. Slade has 3, and Pamela Pickett has 2. Lots of conditions on the table as well. So just something to be mindful of. I was also informed on, before we started recording, that Sister Mary Erstwhile has no more Janus mask left except for the blood-soaked portal. So something to keep our eyes on as well. Are there any questions before we begin? Okay, then we're in the day phase. No need to introduce threats, so let's just go around and find out what everyone is interested in doing today. I suspect we've got a lot to get done today. We'll start with Sister Mary.
I think what I would like to do, I'm stalling while I think. I think after our situation last night where we got basically kidnapped by this kid, I would like to look into this situation and go visit Mrs. Stackpole.
Sounds good. Marshall?
I think I want to press toward a solution for the hunt for Rebel Gold. I'm just trying to think what that might look like. I think my job today, this morning at least, is to just kind of take a assessment of the damage done by the Memphis, and see who's hurt, see who's dead.
I can't remember. Are the Rurales still in town? I think they
I believe
are.
so. Yeah. Because I had them helping out to some extent with the siege.
Right.
I don't think they'd left after that.
What happened to the Skaggs? I think the Skaggs is back down, right? Didn't we get into kind of a showdown with them? I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great. Slade, what do you want to do today?
I think Slade might feel a certain closeness to Sister Mary at this point and may wish to accompany her. He may not know why.
And Pamela.
Still on the trail of Dr. Clarkson. I want to get more clues for Ghost Be Gone.
Do you want some leads to follow there?
Yes, please.
We've got, let's see. Well, Well, I suppose you could surreptitiously go back out to the prior homestead, but there may not be too much more to do there. Otherwise, you've got, let's see. Well, we know where the wagon is during the day. It's over by that warehouse. And we also know that he's working with a local who is Clarice something is her name, if I remember correctly. Let's find her. Clarice Dovers, an amateur chemist, and a local is sometimes local. She travels with them too, but she's from here. He's working with her. There's also the I think there's the little bugle boy that plays the bugle to announce his wares, you know, on the street. We didn't see him too much, but I think he's still around. And then he also has a ghost trapped. I don't know if there's any way of like communicating with that ghost, but that's something I might follow up on as well. So yeah, those are some ideas.
I think I want to tackle the the bugle boy first.
Okay, he's probably pretty easy to find.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Why don't we start with Sister Mary and Slade heading out to Alma Stackpole's. Do you want the scene before you get there, or do you want to just go straight to Alma Stackpole?
I think that's going to be up to Slade if he wants to try and get in a vulnerable move.
Yeah, that might be handy. Maybe he could meet the sister when he is visiting the doctor for his leg again.
Well, Mr. Slade, it certainly seems like you have an aptitude for trouble with your legs.
I'm almost at the point where I might suggest amputation.
Yes, well, something tells me that probably wouldn't work very well for you.
It would prevent further injury.
Then you would have crutches, more ability to fall down, center of balance is off. I'm
That is
surprised you're
a
not worried
fair
about,
point.
you know, death, about, you know, if you have a amputation, there is possibility that you could just die. You're not concerned about that.
Death does not frighten me.
Are you suggesting that it frightens me?
I know it frightens many, although I do not understand why in many cases.
And forgive me if I'm being too bold. I get the feeling that you and I are frequently playing a sort of game, a back and forth, where I'm trying to get you to say something to get to a goal with you, and you are trying to sometimes go on the offense, but mostly you're on the defense. Can you explain to me why you play so defensively? Unless, of course, Mr. Slade, that is too personal of a question.
There are answers that I may give that could frighten you, sister.
I think you are misunderstanding me. I'm a lot braver than you think. I do take a lot more, well, action than it seems that I do. Especially to protect our good town, of course. I am not above sacrificing a few pawns should it be necessary.
An interesting analogy. Perhaps there is time for a game before we depart.
And I think she does pull out like a worn chess set.
I mean,
ready to go.
I think the various allusions to chess are probably enough to get the vulnerable move triggered there. Do we think we have any conditions that are cleared here? Well, you can't, Sister Mary, but Slade, you have the option.
I'm not sure. Well, I think knee popped from socket is probably the most
That's probably the most
debilitating.
likely, yeah. Especially if you were at the doctor's getting that kind of sorted out. You get the bonus as well, Slade. Which do you want?
Ooh. I think, considering the circumstances, I think I would like to know something about Slade from Sister Mary.
So you want me to explain something about the actual Slade, correct?
Right.
Got you.
Do
You
you
know,
want to think on it, or you good?
oh no, I can do this right now. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
You know, Mr. Slade, I've known you quite some time. You've known me quite some time. I think she's moving some pieces around the board. Specifically in this case, the knight. I have never seen you interact with horses in the way that you did the other day before. Usually you are so careful and, well, you certainly never try to put them in danger or hurt them.
I would never do such a thing.
Unfortunately, I think I witnessed a situation where you did exactly such a thing. Remember when the guns were blazing and your horse, well, what a wonderful shield he made. It just seems strange to me, Mr. Slade, that you would go from being this, passionate animal lover to putting your beloved steed in the line of fire. How strange. How strange.
Was my horse injured or even frightened, sister?
The exact thing I hoped you would say. Thank you for bringing that up. He, in fact, was not. Also strange, don't you think?
Not particularly, but I understand why it might seem as such to you.
I see you're being coy as usual, Mr. Slade. Another thing that you never were known for before.
Very good. Well, so Travis, what's your first stop in assessing what's going on with the town? Interestingly, structurally the town is fine, right? The cannon fire doesn't damage buildings or anything. It's just a few people are dead inside them.
Right. I think my first stop is the, whatever passes for a morgue or a mortuary, or probably the doctor's office here.
I mean, last I heard they were putting bodies in root cellars. So,
yeah, just to see if I can get some kind of tally of how many bodies have been brought in already.
Yeah, I think probably
looking for more.
They'll have. I think they'll probably. Well, I think maybe they'll have made a. They'll just start in the stable, since Jared is one of the victims and they found him there. And so they just continued bringing bodies to the stable. It wasn't a terrible body count. It was 6 people. Only 2 of them are named characters that we know about, Jared and August Kilkenny. There was, and the town is obviously incredibly frightened, and many, many people are already packing up their bags, getting ready to leave. That could be a problem. The township of El Paso is fairly new, and you probably don't want the distinction of being the marshal that saw the town fold. And so what do you do?
I think I need to organize some kind of meeting outside the marshal's office once I've seen to
you can do that. So you were gifted a move from Wyatt before he died, which is it basically allows you to call the town assemblage from the Marshall playbook. So you could do that tonight if you wanted.
Yeah, I think I'll do that, and then spend the day trying to figure out if we can come up with a plan for getting the Memphis to pass on.
Yeah,
but how many clues do we have for that now? Oh, we're too short of getting an even roll.
I will say that if you're going to have the town assemblage, you're going to have it somewhere outside the range of the Memphis. You can maybe get
I
the
think
town to like leave for a little bit or whatever, right?
I think I want to hold off on that until we have a clear idea of what to do for the about the Memphis. So I need to do some. I think I want to go speak to the doctor about what he has, if anything, discovered from examining the bodies of the people that were killed by these spectral cannons.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll come to that scene in a bit. We check in with Pamela. Pamela, finding the boy whose name is Henry Short. Finding Henry Short is not too much trouble. I think he's only 10, but during the day when he's not doing like his job's at night, and so during the day he actually hangs out in the saloons, and he nurses a beer, but he still drinks one. and he kind of like sits on the counter of the saloon and sings like dirty songs, to like amuse passersby. He's also probably a bit of a pickpocket. You've heard stories, and the telltale signs anyway of such types. And I think he's probably hanging out in the Rio Grande saloon today. You could probably find him there. The description says he's 10 years old, scruffy hair, a bit of a punk ass, to be honest, because he kind of is. He's there, and what do you do when you see him? He's like regaling a few early morning drunks with the story.
I gained an advancement, and I think I am going to pull a West End. Going to pull out Tarnish.
Okay. Let's see here.
So, trunk full of costumes, wigs, makeup, props, and all the training and skills to help you look like someone you're not. But when you rifle through the trunk, add a costume to your personal quarters and mark suspicion. So
what's the costume?
Tarnish McCready.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So he, Tarnish wanders in. I mean, like, he's got a disreputable hat on. He's got, like, slovenly pants and shirt, like, kind of dirtied up and stuff. I think he'd be more responsive to somebody that might smell a little bit of polecat rather than a sweet-smelling, well-dressed woman.
Right.
So, so Tarnish kind of slides into the saloon and just kind of tries to take a seat near or next to Henry Short. Is he known as Bugle Boy, or is he known as?
Henry Short is his name. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
He sees you and he says, "Well, look what the cat dragged in. You look like you got rode hard and put away wet."
Funny you should say that. It's like I had a wrangle with a polecat this morning. You smell it?
And he raises his armpit and he's like,
"Whew, take a whiff of that, boy."
And he's like, he kind of leans back.
Sorry, didn't mean to scare you. It's all right. Can I add to that beer you're nursing right now?
He's like, "Oh, yes, sir." And he clicks his fingers at the bartender and says, "My good man, pour me another. It's on this fine, bedraggled gentleman right here.
Pour me one, too."
And so the bartender's doing all that. Then what?
Yeah, so McCready's just kind of gonna sip his beer, in a friendly way with Henry, just kind of see how deep in his cups he gets. Oh boy. And then just kind of brings the conversation round to Dr. Clarkson. So I mean, do we know that he hangs with Dr. Clarkson, or that he?
Yeah,
just...
he's like whenever Dr. Clarkson's doing his show
Mm,
or doing his like selling on the street, the bugle boy like plays a bugle and like hollers out all the like announcements to the crowd and stuff, right? Gets everybody's attention.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what McCready's going to bring up. It's like,
So, I hear you like making announcements. You think you could do that for a bit of coin? Or some dollars, whatever. For my mistress.
He says, well, you may not be aware of this, sir, but my services are in very high demand right now. I have one of the most powerful sets of lungs in all of El Paso, perfect for both yelling and bugle playing. You'd have to go far, far and wide to find someone with as much respiratory capacity as me.
Ah, you sound like a boisterous young feller.
and he will slap him as hard as he possibly can on the
I think
back.
he like falls off the bar, right?
Yep.
And he kind of like gets up and he's sort of a little nervous about you, but nevertheless he wants to like make it very, very well known that he's willing to work for your employer if the price is right.
Got it. Okay.
He says, of course, we may have to work out something with Dr. Clarkson. Dr. Clarkson, well, he's managed to establish himself pretty well in this town, and so he may not have as much need for my services. Nevertheless, I like to think that I bring something completely, well, let's just say I'm an important part of the machinery that makes his business go. Why, without me, how would people who are standing way over there know that he's over here selling Ghost Be Gone? They wouldn't, would they? Nevertheless, he can probably be persuaded, especially if you give him a little cut, which I'm, of course, happy to deliver to him myself, if you want to just add a little extra on top.
Oh, of course. We gotta make sure that the middleman is taken care of course.
So, tell me about your employer. What sort of business are they in?
It's like a little
What
bit
needs announcing?
Oh, it's like a casino on the go. It's like it's for busy working folk that don't need to be taking a lot of time sitting on their bum and then just, doing the gambling and drinking. And
you're referring to Miss Pickett's wagon.
Yeah, she's my mistress, absolutely.
Oh, yes, I'm certainly happy to help her. I fear that, well, Miss Pickett, she, of course, I'm sure you're aware, she's also a member of the Vigilance Committee here in El Paso. And there's a bit of tension between the Vigilance Committee and Dr. Clarkson right now. I mean, I can't blame them, really. They are just jealous because Dr. Clarkson has been able to subdue the spectral menace while they have not. There's tension there.
Yeah, no, it's fine, but maybe it's like maybe Dr. Clarkson wants to help out and bring some of his expertise on board. Like Miss Pickett's like wonderful and all that, but maybe having two people with like that kind of knowledge could spur things along.
Make the information move. See if he gives up anything.
All right, so let's see.
With presence, I think.
Okay, that would be 10.
10. We'll come back to that. Let's go back to Sister Marion Slade. Let's talk about Alma Stackpole. Now, Alma Stackpole's home is it's outside the city. You have to travel a little ways. She has a big spread of land, and her house is like nothing else, not just in El Paso, but like in the whole region. She is a person of distinct and noteworthy wealth in this place and setting, right? And I think you are You're welcomed in if you just go up to the front door, unless you have some other approach in mind.
No.
Inside her home, there are enormous flower arrangements and towering vases. She actually has servants, which is really rare in the setting, kind of darting to and fro, and there's the glimmer of freshly polished wood everywhere. Everyone looking around, how do we know Alma Stackpole is the richest woman in El Paso, apart from the things I've already mentioned?
The wood that makes up the floor isn't wood available in this region or anywhere near this region. This had to be shipped a long distance to get here to be made into floorboards.
All of these servants have matching uniforms, and they are, crisp and pristine.
The walls are, every wall is covered in wallpaper of the finest silk and other just extravagant materials.
There are a really fine selection of books that must have been shipped here at some considerable expense from, looks like, all over the world, particularly Europe.
The two of you are approached by Wellington, who is the butler. Wellington's who actually brought the case to you originally, because he's worried about his employer's sort of over-the-top spending on behalf of the Blue Boy. And he's very tall and kind of stout for his advanced age. He has what I would describe as strategically arched eyebrows, and he's always checking for his, kind of checking his pocket watch. And he welcomes you in and he says, well, I must say I'm very happy that the Vigilance Committee has decided to finally pay some attention to this matter.
We were waylaid by the shelling of the town with ghostly energies.
Yes, I've heard all sorts of stories. And yet, soon enough, I suspect that a lot of this ghostly business will pass when the Wounded Knight passes, but Mrs. Stackpole's money may not be recoverable after the Wounded Knight if the Blue Boy continues to ravenously tear through it at the rate that he is, and that is a long-term trouble for the town of El Paso. Need I remind you that Mrs. Stackpole is a financial pillar of the community? I would think that that would warrant more immediate attention. Of course, I heard about what happened to the poor marshal, and I'm very sad about that. I suppose it was his leadership, or lack thereof, which has caused this situation to go, well, given to such casual treatment by the Vigilance Committee.
Mr. Wellington, I'm
Just
certain.
Wellington.
Oh, well, of course, Wellington. I'm certain you're not trying to suggest that the Vigilance Committee would ever put the lives of the citizens second rate to money, of course. I know that's not what you're actually trying to suggest. The lives of the people here and the safety of the town, no money. I'm sure you understand that as well.
Yes.
I think she's like hoping he's properly shamed for his horrible behavior. Now,
it's he's a pillar of self-importance. You may not be able to penetrate it too much.
I would like to ask you about Mrs. Stackpole's carriages. You see, we were picked up in the evening. Was it last night?
Yeah, we could say it was last night. Yeah.
Whenever it was, yeah. In the evening by the Blue Boy himself in a carriage and she describes the carriage.
Oh, yes. That grandiose monstrosity. I protested vociferously that the carriage was perfectly fine as is and did not require all of those embellishments. Those embellishments, of course, were had at incredible expense, and the household accounts are, well, still quite impressive, but nevertheless significantly depleted. You know, putting up with the eccentricities of the rich is just part of my job. And Mrs. Stackpole certainly isn't the first woman of means to have unusual ideas about how to spend her time or money. But I think we can all agree that this Blue Boy situation is getting very out of hand.
When did he first appear?
Well, he started coming around. Well, this is the information move because there could be something really relevant to the solution here. So go ahead and roll with, I guess it's presence. Yeah.
8.
He says, well, that is quite a story. And he sort of like takes a deep breath, and we'll come back to the answer in a bit. Travis Walker. I can't remember the doctor's name. Have we ever named the doctor? Moreno, I think is his name.
Gabriel. I put it in my notes.
Yeah, that's right, because he was one of your side characters. Yeah.
Where's my Gabriel Torres?
That's right, Torres. So Dr. Torres says, how are you settling in, Marshal?
Well, it ain't exactly been a easy start to my tenure in this position, you might say.
Yes, I know that. I was speaking rhetorically or humorously. I suppose that your strained tenure has something, or is at least partially connected to the fact that there are a great deal of bodies stacked up in the stable right now.
Indeed.
And people are packing up and ready to leave right now.
That is also topmost on my mind, you might say. Now, Dr. Torres, I wonder if you might tell me anything about these bodies. Anything apparent around their cause of death? I'll level with you, sir. I need to get to the bottom of this business with the Memphis.
And he says, and he kind of nods. And yeah, go ahead and do the information move. Take it with presence, and let's see how it goes.
10.
Nice. Let me take a look at the clues. I'll give it to you now. He says, well, your eyes are as good as mine, and assuming you've looked at the bodies in the stable, you'll see that they appear to have had, well, they've been drained, though not drained of their blood or any other fluids or, well, it's like they've been drained of their some other sort of hard to define essence, if that makes sense. Just raw elemental life force drained away. I know that sounds like a foolish thing to say, especially coming out of the mouth of a man of science, but of course we live in very, very unscientific times, don't we, Marshal?
I might have said that once, sir, but if the past few weeks taught me anything, is that these are indeed very unusual times. So they've been drained of their vitality, you might say.
Yes. Another funny thing, though, I cut up a few of them just to do, well, something resembling autopsy work, I suppose. It's not exactly my specialty. Every one of them had, well, it's like someone reached into their chests and removed their hearts. There was just blank space behind their rib cage where the heart should be. That was 2 of the bodies. I'm sure it's going to be the same in all of them.
Now, Doctor, this may seem like a foolish question, but what could do that to a person?
I don't know, but I will tell you, Marshall, that like most other people, I've been having strange dreams, dreams of gold, ever since we started hearing the rumors about the Memphis wreckage, ever since the Rurales showed up, ever since the Skaggs brothers began terrorizing people outside town on the trails. I've been having those dreams of gold. But mine are really more like nightmares. I dreamt that I was one time laying on a slab of gold, like a bed, but it wasn't a bed, it was an altar. And there was someone looming over me. And they reached into my chest. And that's when I woke up. It's all very unnerving. I don't really know what to make of it. But if there's a connection, you know.
It does seem these Confederate spirits are intent upon retrieving this gold. And I must say, Doctor, that my temperament does not lend itself to giving in to threats made against me or mine. And I'm not inclined to give these creatures what they want.
Have you ever thought perhaps that there aren't any Confederate ghosts at all, Marshall? That it's the ship. The ship is the entity with which we must contend.
Perhaps. I can't say it changes my attitude none.
True enough, true enough.
My brother said I was an ornery cuss, and I don't like to give in.
Yes, well, we're going to have to get to the bottom of this pretty soon. I, for one, don't want to pack up and leave. I've got too much invested in this town.
You and me both.
Oh, good luck to you, Marshall.
I appreciate your time, Doctor.
The clue is that their hearts were missing out of the victims who were hit by the spectral cannon fire. Tarnish, I owe you a clue, correct? You got a 10, if I remember correctly. Take a look at the existing clues. I don't duplicate any. Okay. I think you'll notice as you're talking to young Henry, he's being very defensive of Dr. Clarkson. He's not giving up anything. And you kind of maybe get the sense even that he's trying to like play you too, you know? But the one thing he has not managed to cover up from you is that he has silvery smudges on his fingertips and palms. He says, "So, shall I pay a visit to your boss's wagon tonight?"
That sounds like a right good idea. So,
we need to have a negotiation, of course, work out the details of my employment. I have a very, very keen sense of what I'm worth, and I won't accept 1 penny less than that number.
oh, we
In
would
fact,
not expect
I-
anything less.
prefer quite a few pennies more.
Into the details, are you, boy?
I consider myself something of an entrepreneur, a real go-getter, a self-starter, you might say.
Sounds like it.
I have
Sounds
some
like it.
tips for you, actually, Mr. Tarnish, if you would allow me.
Really? Love
I
to hear
find that
these.
getting around in this world, first impressions are the best impressions. Indeed, they're the only ones that matter. And impressions can be visual in nature. They can have to do with your temperament or personality, which is also needs some work, but let's set that aside for now. They can also be olfactory in nature. And you may want to consider, wow, they make so many fine fragrances and perfumes and sachets that one can keep about their person or on their person in order to present a more pleasing olfactory experience for people. Now,
And he spits on the floor.
and he turns and he leaves. Let's take a 5-minute break. Before we resume, I do want to say that we have, I have failed to note that there is an aspect of the Janus mask on the Blue Boy called the Mask of the Idol. That's IDYLL. And it is available to be taken. So
I'm just desperate for any kind of masks I can get. So
yeah, Ghost Be Gone doesn't have one, but and the Mask of Gold is still available, it looks like. So yeah. All right, let's pick up. Wellington says, I think we had best move into the parlor. It's, well, foyer is very busy, intersection of the house, and in any case, I would prefer to be somewhere I can be sure no one is listening. And he takes the two of you into the parlor. Let's paint the scene about the parlor. First of all, I'll say that it is filled with reproduction Rococo era furniture. There is a grand fireplace not currently lit, and there's a bar cart with a crystal decanter and drinking glasses. Let's paint the scene. What reminders of Alma's late husband, Melvin Stackpole, haunt this room?
there's a crystal ashtray on a side table that still has a cigar butt in it from long before he died.
Wonderfully carved, chiseled, whatever, marble bust sitting on a sideboard.
There are some old newspapers on a side table with, you know, they have those like library wooden rods put down, you know, they've been how you would describe it, but they, you know, a wooden rod down the center of the newspapers. They obviously and that's where he would sit to read the paper in the morning with his morning cigar.
And I think in front of that seat there are a pair of men's slippers just left there.
Wellington offers you both a seat, but not a drink. And he says, you may have noticed that there are some reminders in this room of my late employer, Mr. Stackpole. You should understand that Mrs. Stackpole is a very haunted woman, and I don't mean literally so in the case of this Blue Boy character. The Stackpoles were Well, I don't know how else to say it except that they were too frequently visited by grief and death. They tried many times to have children, and the pregnancies were always unsuccessful. I myself am not a man with any medical knowledge, and so I can't speak on why that might be the case. But I do know that, for whatever reason, death frequently crossed the threshold of this family and our home. And took what he liked. Took what he liked. The poor children in my employer's womb.
I think throughout this whole conversation, Sister Mary is eyeballing Slade to see how he's reacting.
How are you reacting?
Staring straight ahead.
I want the day move. I want the day move from you. That's the complication on the roll. What's the day move? What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail or you lose your nerve?
Letting some sort of remorse or doubt slip and show.
Go ahead and make the roll with composure, and let me take a look at your. Yeah, composure's fine.
12.
Oh, good. I'll give you an extra clue as your bonus. How are you processing this, though? How are you keeping it together?
I think he's kind of weighing the human guilt at seeing this in a very personal manner with the fact that if the children died, then that was their due. They were not fit for life for whatever reason. There was no cruelty in his act.
Wellington says, as you might imagine, the subject of children is a very sensitive one for Mrs. Stackpole, and her obsession with the Blue Boy painting is, well, I think it's connected to the fact that she was never able to have children of her own. They tried so many different things. They even tried to adopt a child from an orphanage once, but the poor little fellow didn't last a week before the Reaper stepped across the threshold once again. You have to understand that if the Blue Boy, this ghost, if that's what it is perhaps drawn by my employer's grief. I don't have any evidence to suggest that it's anything other than that. Surely no one would be so cruel as to want to take advantage of her by pretending to be such a creature. He says, clearly indicating he thinks that might be the case. But that's the clue. She was never able to have a child. You get a bonus clue as well, but we'll get to that in a moment. He says, so I think that is a suitably macabre backdrop for the work I'm sure you're here to do. And he kind of straightens up and dusts off his waistcoat, a little bit. How would you like to begin?
Well, in my experience with places like this, you always start with the help. They're the ones that are actually in the know.
Yes,
Does this Blue Boy have his own wait staff, food staff?
Well, there are only 4 of us in service here in the house. although for special occasions, Mrs. Stackpole does have a few locals that she relies on to stand around and look decorative. Goodness knows they don't have the training to be proper servants. All of the Blue Boys' meals are made by Mrs. Thicket, of course, like everyone's meals here. And he has his own room upstairs, although he's not often there to be found. He tends to show up mostly in the evenings. I'm sure he does whatever ghosts do during the day.
Out of character question. Mrs. Thicket. Okay. Because we've established that Sister Mary Erstwhile is Constant Head's daughter. I'm just trying to think of the timelines. I think they probably wouldn't know each other. I don't think that would have happened. I don't think that would have crossed over. Just to keep things simple. Okay. Cool. Done.
He says, "You can have the run of the place for the next hour or so. Mrs. Stackpole is out, and I have no idea where the Blue Boy's gone off to." And he sort of says, "Do as you will. Try not to bump anything or make anything, out of place." And he leaves you to it. I'm going to give you another clue, though. He leaves something behind for you, something he wants you to know about, but doesn't want to speculate on or talk about. And it's an odd thing, actually. It's a pillow sham embroidered with the Blue Boy on it, of course. And if you kind of undo it, he's folded it on a square and tucked it on, under a book on the coffee table. Something falls out of it. A powder.
If I were to dip my finger in the powder and give it a smell, would it smell like anything?
Yeah, I think it would. You have kind of a medical background, right, Sister Mary?
Medic, yeah.
Yeah. It's arsenic.
Well, this is a strange sequence of events. Where would you like to start, Mr. Slade?
I am curious about what the boy leaves behind in his meals. Ghosts tend not to eat.
Well, if you start with the cook, I'll talk to the maid. Or maids.
There is one maid. Her name is... Let's get her name. Jenny. Jenny the maid. Jennie.
Very well.
I'll talk to Jenny, the maid.
And be careful, sister.
I suppose I don't really need to wish you the same. But do so anyway.
Slade, how are you
We'll
feeling
start
about
heading toward the kitchen.
How are you feeling about Sister Mary's innuendos all day about you?
I think he at this point he's not trying to hide. He's just not assisting.
Let's cut over to Travis. So Travis, once you're kind of done talking to Dr. Torres and you've kind of learned all you can learn about the bodies, what do you do then?
I was just looking on the trying to remember the name of the leader of the Virales.
Oh, good. I was actually thinking of having a scene with him anyway. So he'll come find you. He's the kind of person who finds you. You don't find him. That would be Commander, I think it's Diaz, but let me check. Yeah, Benito Diaz. He's a close horse rider, if you'll recall. He pulls his horse right up by you. His horse Maximo, and tends to kind of, you can practically feel Maximo's horse breath, down your neck. And he says, "Congratulations on your new post, Sidewinder Kid."
Travis will kind of eye him up and down to see if he detects any hint of baiting in that greeting, and then say, "Commander Diaz, I was hoping I might run into you today."
Well, here we are. Fate has brought us together. It's really unfortunate what happened last night. The Memphis is, well, it's a dangerous thing. And we've managed to chase the Skaggs brothers away, but this issue with the Rebel Gold is not settled. I've heard some rumors, actually, that you and the Vigilance Committee might have determined where that gold might be.
Be that as it may, I wanted to ask you something about the curious state of the bodies that were left by the Memphis last evening.
I've already heard the stories. Shriveled up, no hearts. Sounds like
you find that curious? You find that unusual, Commander?
Yes, Marshal, I do find it unusual. It's very unusual. But maybe not so unusual on this side of the Rio Grande during the Wounded Night.
My thoughts exactly. Now, it seems to me that there appears to be some connection between the Skaggs brothers and this Aztec god, Xipe Totec.
Yeah. Maybe.
Now, I wonder if you might enlighten me as to whether the removal of a victim's heart might have anything to do with the manner of worship of that particular god.
He says, well, listen, the Aztecs and the Mayans were, you can't go anywhere in Mexico without tripping over a ruin of some sort, the leavings of some ziggurat or rainbow serpent or who knows what else. Listen, it's all just, well, before the Wounded Night, I would have just said, it's all just myth, it's all just stories. I don't know anything about that kind of thing any more than you would know. But, well, times like this, maybe old gods are awakened in the earth.
That is indeed what I'm wondering.
Are you telling me that the location of the gold has something to do with Xipe Totec?
That was not what I was suggesting, sir, no.
Do you know where the gold is, Marshal?
What is your interest in the gold precisely, sir?
My remit is to find it and take it back to Mexico. It never belonged to those Confederate soldiers in the first place.
On that, we can agree.
So, where is it? You're a terrible liar. Or a terrible deflector, I should say.
Perhaps we can come to some arrangement around how we might resolve the matter of the Memphis.
I grow weary of arrangements, Marshal, just as My men and women grow weary of your town's rapidly diminishing hospitality.
I would remind you, sir, that you sit on United States property
Yes, yes.
under my sufferance.
Mm-hmm. Well, I invite you to eject us then, Marshal.
Yeah, there's no need to become hostile, Commander.
All right then. So where's the gold? I want the day move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you lose your nerve?
I think Travis is afraid he's not going to be able to secure any kind of assistance.
Go ahead and roll
And,
with,
you know, in fact, it might even turn hostile.
yeah,
between
roll with
them.
composure. See how it goes.
Oh boy, composure is always my favorite.
Also, I think you have eyes of gold, and I think this
Yeah.
affects maybe like you can maybe Benito can see the glint in your eyes, and it makes him not trust you. So roll
Do you want
disadvantage.
a disadvantage? I'm just taking a look in my personal quarters to see if there's anything I can use to level that out. I'll take the disadvantage. Let's see how this goes. That is a 3. No, a 4.
Hmm. And right about then, as you're kind of slowly ambling down the street, he'll look up and he'll see that mural of Xipe Totec, the depiction on the side of the church, something he's probably seen 100 times since he's been in town, but he's never put 2 and 2 together until this conversation. And he says, Marshal, I want to apologize to you. I fear I've let my temper get a little out of hand here this afternoon. I don't mean to be so short with you. Maximo likes you so well, after all. And Maximo, like, nuzzles your ear or something. And he says, let's continue working together. Let's continue being friends.
I appreciate that, Commander. What do you suggest?
How about this? Tonight, my men and women will ride out and will distract the Memphis, draw its fire to buy you more time to figure out how to get rid of it.
Very well. Very well. I have to say, Commander, that I'm not inclined to give this whatever it is, what it wants. Can we agree on that much?
I don't know what it wants. I just know that.
Well, I think it wants the gold, sir. Not to put too fine a point on it.
Fair enough. All right, then. Yes, I'll agree to that. Wherever the gold may be, we will not deliver it to the Memphis. If one of us should happen to stumble upon it.
I believe I take your meaning, sir.
Let's go over to Pamela. Pamela, what do you do when you're done with Henry Short?
So the chemist is working over at the warehouse?
Yeah, Sister Mary actually discovered that they have a hidden distillery in the back of the warehouse where they're making the Ghost Be Gone. And Clarice Dovers is there. There used to be a security man there too, but he died at some point in the various troubles. I think he was part of the group that went out to face the Memphis originally.
Right.
Or accidentally ran into the line of fire of the Memphis.
Was the warehouse, I'm sorry, I don't remember all the details. Was the warehouse something that housed like goods like kind of passing through?
No, it was like lumber and building supplies.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and the distillery was kind of hidden behind a thing in the back of it.
Yeah, they basically just like kind of made a false wall with crates to
Got it.
create
That
a
makes
backspace.
sense. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think it's not necessarily safe with Clarkson there. That's the only problem. Just for funsies, it's like, she's gonna go out as Terrence, like out to the warehouse just to kind of like, take a surreptitious look around.
Yeah, you can do that. The wagon is by the warehouse during the day, and you know where the secret entrance in the back is to the distillery. Are you going to try to go in there, or are you just going to look around the outside?
Gonna look around the outside first. I mean, like, want to see if there's any activity. Especially around Dr. Clarkson's wagon, or if he just happens to be.
Make the information move with, I think it's composure actually, because presumably you're trying to be a little like
sneaky. Yeah,
sneaky about it. Yeah,
makes sense. Okay. Okay, so that is a 7.
I'll give you your clue right now. Oh, let me make sure you don't have this one already. I don't think you do. Oh. You see up against the side of the warehouse it looks just like a cage that you might keep a goat or chickens or something in, right? But it's a little strange in that it's made of oxidized copper. And as you get a little closer to it, you'll notice that there are runes on the bars. That's your clue. Here's your complication. Click, click. Daisy Pryor has a gun trained on you. She says, Miss Pickett, you managed to wriggle your way free from my impromptu trap the other day. I don't think you're going to wriggle your way out of this one. This warehouse is conveniently located away from the main flow of traffic in town, and guns go off all the time around here. It even has lots of convenient places to store a body. Crates, barrels, tarps. Is there anything you want to say? Any messages you want me to pass along?
I don't know what you be talking about. I'm just doing a little bit of snooping because I'm a nosy Parker.
I've been watching you ever since you came out to my house, Ms. Pickett. Your disguises are no good.
And why would I be of interest to you at all? Or to even bother with shooting?
Well, you're getting a little too close to Dr. Clarkson.
You mean like you?
Well, it's a closeness of a different sort that he and I share.
Obviously.
Nevertheless, the Vigilance Committee is a unforeseen complication.
He just made the mistake of peddling around near here.
You made the mistake of poking your nose into business that isn't yours.
Isn't it? I would hate to think we were dueling concerns. Maybe working hand in glove, as it were.
What did you have in mind?
A clandestine partnership, perhaps?
To accomplish what exactly?
Is his goal to fleece the entirety of the population of El Paso?
That's one of them, yes.
Perhaps maybe that's a goal of mine.
I have my own goals, which I think I'd like to focus on right now. My husband wasn't killed by a ghost.
Didn't think so. But I don't have to say anything about it.
Okay. And in exchange for your silence?
Working with Dr. Clarkson to get as much out of the denizens of El Paso as we possibly can while we're here.
I'll put in a good word.
Mightily appreciated.
Yeah. I'm not going to make you roll, but I am going to give you a condition marked by Daisy Pryor. She says, do you have roulette at your wagon?
Of course.
I love roulette. The wheel goes round and round and round.
I may even let you use the ball that actually works.
And we'll cut the scene there. Let's check in with Slade and Sister Mary, and then we'll call it a day, Phase. So, Slade, you said you were going to go investigate the food, go to the kitchen, or what's the plan here?
Yeah, and speak with Mrs. Thicket.
Yeah, Mrs. Thicket. Let's talk about her. There might even be a question about the kitchen. There is. So this kitchen is bigger than some people in El Paso's entire house. A long food prep island runs down the center. There are gleaming pots and pans, bundles of herbs, and ropes of sausage hanging from the ceiling. There's a little door towards the rear that presumably goes to the servants' quarters. Let's paint the scene. The blue boy will only eat the finest of foods. Describe one of these delicacies.
Turtle soup.
Fresh ice cream.
It's quite an extravagance.
Smoked salmon, and this far from the ocean.
There's a special white sauce that there's like some kind of hereditary recipe of some sort, and it requires only the freshest of ingredients, like finely braised and created over hours of simmering or whatever, and it's got to be just so, otherwise it's not correct.
Good. Mrs. Thicket is there. Slade. She's a square-framed woman, jowly. She smells strongly of onion and tobacco. She looks up at you and she says, "Oh, Wellington said you might be back here to ask questions about our little ghost, hmm?"
Yes.
Ghosts. Yes. And she's kind of pounding some pastry, kneading it. I know ghosts, no doubt about that. It's funny there should be ghosts in El Paso at all. There isn't enough history in a place like this for ghosts. Ghosts like old things, old places. I suppose that's why our resident spectre is an immigrant from England. He certainly has a taste for finer things. Can you believe he wants me to make him a roasted pigeon and chine of mutton? A regular little lord he is.
As you say, although I believe you are confused, this land is quite old and has seen much death.
Has it now? Has it? Well, it just seems rather empty, is all I'm saying. Of course, I'm used to certain things. I'm from London.
There is much death there as well.
Oh, yes. It washes up on the banks of the Thames practically every morning. You could fit the entire population of El Paso in one single street, one little square corner of London. That's what I mean by old people.
It is what I mean when I say old as well.
Right.
This
Well, now that we have
ghost
an
is
interesting...
different.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. This ghost is different than those you experienced in London.
Well, and she sort of like gives you kind of a little wink. She says, well, for starters, I don't remember any ghosts in London having this kind of appetite. Hmm?
That does seem quite odd. Have you witnessed the boy eat?
She says, well, no, now that you mention it, I guess I haven't. But the food, plates are always cleared.
Peculiar.
Hmm.
He takes all of it in his room?
And she says, yes, I make the food. Wellington brings it up, and occasionally he sits with Mrs. Stagpole, but not for tea or dinner. They mostly just sit and talk and laugh and sing songs and do other silly, frivolous things that rich women and their strange little ghost boys do together.
Were you to not craft the meal he has requested, what do you suppose would happen?
Go ahead and make the information move now. With presence.
Five.
And she gets kind of a clouded look on her face. In fact, her expression goes like quite blank. And she looks up at you and she says, we must always do as the blue boy says. If we don't, he throws a terrible tantrum. And his temper tantrums are... And then she kind of shakes it off. The boy can be a bit of a handful when he wants to be. How did it make you feel when she zoned out like that, talking about the Blue Boys' terrible temper tantrums?
Definitely felt the presence of something else in the room and in her voice. Worried about crossing the boy now.
Yeah, take a condition unnerved. She says, well, I don't know if that was any help to you at all. Personally, I don't see what all the fuss is about. As long as Mrs. Stackpole is happy, she can spend her money however she wants, right?
It is wrong to take advantage of a grieving person.
Sister Mary, what are you doing?
I was hoping to have an audience with one of the maids.
That's right, Jenny. You can find her easily enough. In fact, she's doing up the Blue Boys' bedroom right now, if you want to go in there.
I would love to.
The Blue Boys' bedroom is actually a child-sized replica of Louis XIV's bedchamber and bed. There's a crystal chandelier hanging overhead, and one wall is just a bank of windows. Let's paint the scene. Alma has been making extravagant purchases for the boy and paying huge sums of money to have these items shipped to El Paso as quickly as possible. Describe one of these extravagant purchases.
On one wall, there is a beautiful, ornate, gilded sun mask.
I think there's an extremely opulent toy house, and it's almost like a scale model of a French palace. It's, you know, has many rooms, multiple stories, and incredible detail.
There's an actual fleet of toy ships, all gilded in gold.
The carpet in this room is actually a map of London, and very well, highly detailed.
That's great. Those are all really good details. You find Jenny, and she's busy like dusting, and she actually picks up one of the gilded ships, and she's sort of admiring it. When you walk in, she hasn't noticed you yet.
Seems like a lot of physical objects for a ghost boy.
She jumps and puts the ship down. She says, "Oh, sorry, I wasn't just yes,
just dusting underneath. I understand."
Yes, it's really something. I imagine there's probably nothing like it. Well, certainly not in El Paso, and maybe not even in the whole state.
It is a little over the top, don't you feel?
Yes, I suppose. But Mrs. Stackpole is a very wealthy woman, and well, the boy does make her so happy.
And he plays with all these things. You've seen him do that sort of thing?
Well, no, I'm not allowed, generally speaking, to be around when he's here. But he's very charming, very polite, and well, he and she kind of like straightens up a little bit and swallows hard. He's a very nice little boy.
They ask you to leave the house when he's here? Doesn't he live
No,
here?
we're just supposed to keep a bit of distance to give them their privacy.
That's rather strange, isn't it? Usually you would want to have a maid around in case a young boy makes a mess or needs a toy.
Make the information move.
What am I rolling with?
Probably presence. Yeah, we'll say presence.
Well, I got boxcars, so whatever my presence is, it's just
Oh,
gonna make
nice.
things better. 13.
Very good. I owe you a mastermind clue as well. Let's get the clue out of the way. Mhm. She says, yes, I suppose it is very funny. The fact of the matter is many strange things have been happening in this house ever since he arrived. I don't really know what to do or think about these things, if I'm being perfectly honest. I know during the Wounded Night, the city is strange, the town is strange, this land is strange, everything is unusual. But I have a book, see, a book of nursery rhymes that, well, this is going to sound very foolish, but I hope to have a child of my own someday, and I saw it in a shop and it was awfully expensive, but I bought it as a sort of reminder of what I want a book to give to my child. And I sometimes like to peruse it. And, well, all of the characters in the book have been replaced with the blue boy.
Well, that's rather odd, don't you think?
Oh,
This, and it looks like, were there illustrations in your book?
yes, and the illustrations have all been replaced with images of the blue boy.
Do they look like they've been drawn by a child and then pasted in?
No, no, not at all. And she'll go get it and she'll show it to you. And it looks like that's how the book was printed.
This is quite strange. Perhaps
And then
I should lead you in prayer
she's
over this
flipping
book.
through it. She's showing it to you. And she says, "Oh my." And she gets this horrified look on her face. Huh. And she shows you an illustration of a gallows. And it's you and Travis and Pamela Pickett hanging from the gallows. She says, that looks like. She looks at you and she drops the book and she just runs. She's probably never coming back.
One more loss for El Paso.
Exactly.
Sister Mary picks up the book and we'll hold on to it for now.
So your clue is the blue boy replacing the characters. The mastermind clue is an extra illustration in there for you all. I think
Slade wasn't in there.
Slade was not, pointedly not. Though there was a hangman in the picture. Identity obscured, of course. I think we're pretty good on the stay phase. Did I leave anybody hanging? Is everybody resolved right now? Yeah, I think so. Good. Let's take a look at our phase tracker. Do we have any dusk playbook moves? if you were going to do an assemblage, you could call that right now. But otherwise, I don't think there are any. Let's paint the scene about good old El Paso. I gotta pull up the document though. All right. The Wounded Knight. Let's see what we've done so far. Art. The Exodus. That one's very poignant right now. Tensions. Holiday. We've done quite a few of these actually. Let's do hunting during the Wounded Knight. Drop that in chat. Hunters only hunt during the day and outright refuse to go after feral hogs, raccoons, foxes, coyotes, bobcats, or any other creature that needs to be hunted at night. What harrowing tales do hunters tell one another about those foolish enough to hunt after dark during the Wounded Knight?
They talk about the great boar that had gored a group of hunters that had gone out one evening, and what was usual was them tracking it and then being able to corner it and then trying to take it out. What was not usual was the tail, including them being gored not only by the usual tusks, but also a pair of many pointed antlers on the hog's head, on the boar's head.
They speak of a clever fox that, when you're not paying attention, sneaks into your camp and steals all of your weapons, not to be seen. But of course, that just leaves you vulnerable for when the real monster out there comes to you.
They tell a story of a man foolish enough to take his young son out hunting, and they were overwhelmed by a great swarm of feral hogs and were unable to, with the weapons they had, unable to fend them off.
Was it 30 to 50 feral hogs?
Exactly.
Hunters will tell of just large packs of coyotes moving like wolves in the night and seeming to follow them on their paths, and almost as if they're planning a trap.
Nice. If you all wish to answer a question, now's the time to do it.
We could try and answer if the Blue Boy ghost is real or a hoax.
You got lots of interesting clues on that one. A lot of contradictory clues. I'll be curious what you come up with.
I think I have more idea for that one than I do for the Memphis, which is the one that I've been trying to investigate.
The Memphis, I think, is just more complicated.
And I have a theory growing for Ghost Begone, but then now it's changed a little bit with that last clue. So I'm not sure whether I want to have another one to make it, you know, to do the highest complexity. So, but yeah, let's do Blue Boy, at least to answer a question. I want to say real. I mean, that's just my vote.
You think he's a real ghost?
My theory on the Blue Boy was it's kind of like a tulpa that is brought into being by her grief over her inability to have a child, right? And she's playing up to it. She's, you know, indulging it and
Yeah, I had the same theory of the Talpa, and I think the Talpa is able to sort of temporarily, I don't know, hypnotize, take over the minds of the staff. Wellington eating the food, sending the driver to come and pick us all up. Arsenic in the pillow sham.
I'm curious
For
about that one. What is the meaning of that?
I have a theory that in her grief creating this tulpa, the tulpa has killed off her husband.
Oh.
So that it
Because it's making
has
it all about him, right? It's like replacing the characters in the
Ah.
book. Everything is 100% focused on this boy.
That's very good. And then I guess, I mean, the glowing footprints just sort of generally suggest spectral nature, I suppose.
And grave dirt. I mean,
and the grave dirt, because maybe the grave dirt that could be subtly alluding to the death of Melvin Stackpole.
Yeah.
Yes.
It could be suggesting that the blue boy is actually the ghost of some other boy who died and has taken on this guise.
Yeah.
It feels well justified to me. I mean, you've
Yes.
incorporated every single clue that you have.
So
for a
it's
plus
not
one.
a ghost, but it's also not a hoax.
Right.
Yes, it's not a hoax. I think the key is it's not a hoax, right? It is
Yes.
a supernatural entity of some sort. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, you've got a plus one. Why don't you go ahead and roll, Rob?
Okay. Nine.
Nice.
That unlocks the next question, which is straightforward. How can we get it to pass on? Resolve the threat by performing a quieting ritual. It's complexity 4. And let's keep going here. What's everyone doing tonight? You have, well, according to Benito Diaz, they're going to draw away the Memphis's fire. Who knows if that's actually going to happen? We have a sense that he's figured out where the gold is, which is kind of an issue.
And I think Travis's attitude is that he's kind of prepared to turn a blind eye to Diaz taking the gold, so long as he keeps it out of the hands of the Memphis. He wants to spite the Memphis, so.
Very interesting.
Gutsy.
Yeah. Well, so what's everyone doing tonight? Let's go around the table. Slade.
I think Slade would still be trying to stay near Sister Mary, so probably showing up at the doctor's office and telling her, I will go where you go.
Sister Mary, what's your plan?
Oh, goodness. Is there anything we can even do at the Memphis right now? Or you have to use the gold at the Memphis to pass on? We need more clues. I think Sister Mary is going to go to a what was the hill where the lady in white was that had a really good view of El Paso?
Oh yeah, I don't remember the name of it, but
yeah. I think go up to there because I'm hoping that that's out of the range of the Memphis. You know, getting the town to evacuate. I assume that's already been done. I assume the marshal's on that. And
well, they're not going to evacuate because Diaz is supposed to be drawing their fire tonight.
Yeah, Diaz is supposed to be drawing away their fire. Yeah, to buy you some time.
Yeah. So that way, if we can see what's happening with the Memphis while being out of range, if there is a moment where we can get down to the Memphis to better inspect what's happening when the distraction's happening, that's sort of the plan.
Oh yeah, getting close to the Memphis while it's active could be really interesting.
Yeah. Waiting for our moment.
Yeah. That might be how the Rurales are helping, actually, is kind of drawing them away, so you can do that. Intriguing. Travis?
I would like to accompany Sister Mary, I think. Yeah, I mean, I've been to the Memphis during the day, but it's time to
Not at night. Yeah.
yeah, it's time to bite the bullet and go there at night.
Probably would be better or best to have you anyway, since you're a better shot than either me or Slade. Just
Pamela?
I think, yeah, I think Pamela's going to get gussied up as herself, and then she's going to meet with Henry Short. You know, have that negotiation meeting that he wants.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Okay. Those are all good plans. Let's keep going. Do we have any Janus masks that needs resolved right now? I don't think we do. And so in that case, let's do the unseen. Take a look at our lists here. Let's do the cattle drive. That's on line 68. Crawford's Lazy H Ranch in Medina, Texas, is driving 2,000 head of cattle to Kansas along the Chisholm Trail. A trail boss is leading a crew of 10 cowboys, a chuck wagon pulled by oxen, and 3 inexperienced workers helping out managing all the horses. Ben, you can have the first prompt. Amanda, you can have the second prompt. Mads, you're the third, and Rob, you're last. Let's take 5. The cattle drive. Ben, the days are made up of the lead riders, up front with other riders on the sides and rear. The herd started out irritable, but have now settled in for the journey. Describe the scene as the sun sets and the inexperienced crew try to take or bring the cattle to a halt.
It's been a long day for a new crew, and as the sun sets and they're trying all of the techniques that they've seen other cowboys do and were told would work to get these cattle to settle, nothing seems to be stopping these cows that just want to keep walking even as the dark spreads over the land. And after arguing and tensions begin to rise and everyone's just getting frustrated and tired, the lead just calls back and says, one more hour and they'll have to go down. They won't be able to keep going. And so they decide to just keep going a little bit more.
Pamela Pickett, how's business tonight?
I think it's going pretty well. I mean, am I going to meet with Henry after, like the initial?
Maybe during. I don't know.
Okay.
I just want to know how the wagon's going. What does it look like?
Yeah, I mean, so there's the wheel going. There's the cards, like simple blackjack and stuff, and then there's the luck wheel. So that's like the one that's more upright, so they can like kind of pick to see if they get like a little something from the house. And I think Elmer Feeney's there. I mean, I think he's the one running the cards. So yeah, like it's going pretty well. I mean, like some people are winning, and then they're excited over the little wins, the little hits that they get from the portable gambling, and they come away pleased. Everybody goes away with something. Maybe not a lot, but they come away with something.
That's good. I like it. Before I forget, did you mark suspicion for doing the West End thing?
I did. Mm-hmm.
I was going to give you 2 more marks of suspicion
Sure.
for the events of the day phase as well.
No problem. Yeah.
Good. Sister Mary, Travis, Slade, The rurales are doing their job. You hear that keening wail of the Memphis's cannon fire, but it's not coming toward the town. You have your shot to get close. Let's just have the scene as you're kind of heading up to Memphis.
Slade and his horse will be, I think, leading the charge, and when he glances back at the others and sees Sister Mary looking his way, he'll just kind of awkwardly reach out and pat the horse between the ears and then look back.
Sister Mary mutters under her breath, "Yeah, that's real natural." So, and I imagine Marshall Walker's with us, right?
Yeah, you're all together. Yeah.
So, Marshall, do you have a plan for when this all goes down? You're the man of action around here, aren't you?
Action I know how to do, Sister Mary. I can't say as I have much of a plan.
And
Other
you're
than
certain,
if action can be taken, I will take it.
and if you're certain that your friends the Rurales will be the distraction we need, I hope to God you are. I'll be praying on that.
It's good that you will be, Sister Mary. I think we may need that assistance.
Perhaps we will. And I think while we're riding, she's going to take out the book that she had, because I think she just there wasn't a lot of time between coming back from the whole day phase to now. And I think she's going to kind of toss it over to the marshal to have take a look at that last page there.
Seems like we're a horseman short for me to read that last story.
Perhaps. Seems a little, well, on the nose, so to speak. I personally would like to make sure that tonight is not my last night on this plane. I have more good works to be done, so just be careful tonight. Don't let your temper get a hold of you. Remember all the teachings of the Bible. If you start losing your cool, say a few Psalms maybe, just remember all that I've taught you.
Seems to me the Bible also contains much about vengeance and fire and brimstone.
Oh, absolutely.
You could put your last mark on, but not forgotten.
Thank God.
Slade, before we leave this moment, horse is becoming more chipper, more horse-like as you get closer to the Memphis. How is that reflected in his behavior or appearance?
When horse moves normally, it's almost like a camera on a gimbal. It's like the head doesn't quite move with the legs in the right way. But as we get closer, there's more fluidity to the motion, and he is definitely, shaking a little bit. The hair is flowing in the wind.
Good, thank you. Back at the cattle drive, Amanda, as the trail boss is coming up on camp, he finds one of the cowboys in the rear trying to help a young cow stuck in a ravine. What advice does the trail boss offer? Does he help?
the cowboy is on a very steep part of the ravine, and he has managed very successfully to do a lasso around this poor little calf or young cow down in the ravine, is trying to physically haul up this cow, this one fairly slender man trying to do this on his own. The 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 trail boss rides up and gets off of his horse, and he just watching this scene, he knows what sort of um cattle drive he's in for, what sort of inexperience he gets to face with. And he walks up to this poor young man and physically moves him like by the shoulder to a spot that is much more shallow into the ravine, a much better view looking down at his target, where this little cow is. And he wraps the rope around a nearby tree to get leverage so that the two of them can haul the cow up this much less steep slope, so that it basically just walks right up to them. And he does all of this without saying anything because he prefers to teach by example.
Pamela, the evening is going fine. You're making good money. People occasionally like hear the distant keening of the spectral cannons, and they get a little shaken from that, but it's pretty clear that there's no trouble tonight. And so people are willing to ease up and relax, the few people that are around tonight anyway. The few that are there are probably spending even more heavily. Dr. Clarkson approaches your wagon. You see him. You see his little top hat bobbing. And he says, "Business good tonight, Ms. Pickett?"
Yes, absolutely. How about yours?
Well, I don't have the wagon open tonight. I have run into a bit of trouble that I was hoping you might be able to help me with.
Really?
Yes, well, it's the sort of trouble I can only really tell someone like you.
Miss Pryor can't help you?
I don't know what you mean by that, Ms. Pickett. But
Oh, she made it very clear that she was with you. I wasn't sure that she was going to be, be your willing assistant for anything and everything.
No. Let's set aside Ms. Pryor for now. I, as you know, the ghost, I manage to capture a ghost every night when I do my little demonstration of Ghosts Be Gone. And, well,
admirable
yes,
trait.
Between you and me, the ghost is part of the act. He sort of hangs around the wagon, possibly involuntarily. He's managed to slip his bonds.
Terrible. Oh my.
He has managed to take over the boy.
Henry Short.
Yes. And dear loudmouthed Henry is currently, well, last I saw him, he was clinging upside down to the ceiling of the warehouse, crawling about like a spider.
Really?
Making all sorts of terrible noises and threats to my person for what I did to him, or to the ghost that is currently occupying him.
This is an excellent opportunity for a spectacle. You could bring the whole town and then pop open some cans of your Ghost Be Gone and then show them how much it really works. It sounds like an excellent opportunity.
Well, I happen to be a little short on Ghosts Be Gone at the moment, and I think I think this is the sort of thing that probably we don't want to advertise too widely. You know, little children in El Paso are already very, very strange this time of year, or at least this season as it is. I don't want to cause any more undue stress to an already beleaguered township, and I thought maybe you could come with me to retrieve the boy and, well, since you've shown a recent interest in his wherewithal.
Did he bring my proposal to you?
Oh yes, he did. And we can talk about that soon enough. But for now, perhaps you could help me retrieve my my little spectral pet.
Let me wrap up here, and then I can accompany you to seeing about your mascot.
Indeed. And he looks over at like someone playing like a little hand of blackjack that was on pause while you talk to him, and he says, "You should probably stay," and then turns around. Let's go to the Memphis. You haven't gotten close to the Memphis while it's active like this. From a very, very far distance, it looks like a ship of the era. Tall masts, sails, all that. As you get closer, you realize that it is something entirely different. The ship is in the shape of a ship, but is constructed of hundreds of bodies, interlinked like planks of wood. You can see their faces, their mouths opening up and down. The cannon fire is their collective wail and moan. Beneath this sort of spectral, the apparition of all these bodies conjoined to make a ship, you see the wreckage of the Memphis. But the ghost that is the Memphis is something entirely different. I would like... This feels like the night move. But I just want it from one of you, whoever is going to help steal everyone's nerves right now.
Maybe that'll be Marshall Travis.
What do you say to the other two to get, once you realize that this is a sort of strange horror? The sails are not cloth sails. They are skins sewn together, flapping in an invisible wind.
Now, Sister Mary, seems now, right about now, would be a good time to stop praying, bring some righteousness down on whatever this thing is.
Sister Mary, her jaws just dropped staring at this monstrosity of a ship. There's nothing in her experience that's ever prepared her for this sort of thing. It looks like exactly what she always imagined hell would be like. There's screams of the tortured, of the sinners, and it is just horrifying to her. I think she falls down on her knees, just absolutely terrified.
Slade, what's your response?
He's getting angry at this desecration of the dead and the lives that it is already taken and will take.
Marshall, Travis.
Sister Mary, I need you to stand firm now. We can't let this thing hurt the town anymore. I know you're strong enough.
Travis, what do you afraid is going to happen if you fail? To keep the group together here.
I think that, yeah, you know, without us looking out for each other, we don't have a hope against whatever, you know, don't have a hope of finding the heart of this thing and figuring out how to destroy it.
Yeah, it's worse than that. I think it's worse than that. I think the ship will become stronger somehow.
Probably by absorbing the three of us.
Possibly. Who knows? Let's have sensitivity though. And taking a look at your
many conditions.
Your many conditions. Two of which are probably particularly salient here. Go ahead and roll a disadvantage.
Six.
We'll come back to that. Mads. The cook drives the chuck wagon, prepares the food, and organizes all the supplies. They are also skilled in medical procedures. What injury is the cook treating while he finishes preparing supper?
I think in the usual day of cattle driving, I think then there's like, you know, some like split skin or like wounds, like trying to wrangle some of the cows, and then also like some dislocations if they get in the way, in the wrong way. And so, you know, maybe in one corner he's stitching up somebody while he's stirring the soup, but then like, you know, in another corner he's like, you know, doing all right, I'm gonna be like, you know, like relocating this shoulder now. You gotta hold still when I count 3, okay? And he goes, 1, 2, wrenches it, and then the guy wails and moans like you know, sounding as loud as cannon fire, and you know, puts the shoulder back into place, and you know, proceeds to start chopping up the meat for the plates.
Dr. Clarkson leads you to the warehouse where his wagon is still parked for the night. Near the base of the wagon, near one of the wheels, kind of where that cage was at, you see something covered with a tarp. And there is a very, very faint blue-green glow coming from under the tarp. He says, this way, leading you to the front part of the warehouse, the entrance.
She stops mid-stride. What's under the tarp? That looks more interesting.
He goes over and he pulls the tarp down a little bit more to cover the glow completely. He says, oh, just something for the ghost be gone. We're recalibrating the formula. And it's nothing. Please, this way.
And she follows, but she will reach up into her sleeve just in case.
Indeed. Let's go over to the ghost ship, the Memphis. Strange fusion of bodies, writhing, wailing. You gotta miss. you see the recently dead of El Paso walking across the river to join the ship. The bodies move and shift to make room for them. Like the bodies on the ship, they're all quite naked. And they are welcomed into the gestalt, fused to it. You see Wyatt walking toward the ship. What do you do, Marshall?
Is a mask still an option at this point?
It is.
Remind me, did you say there was a mask of gold?
There is the Mask of Gold. Yeah, we can do that.
I don't know what it is. It's either that or the Cosmic Passage, though, so I guess I'll go for the Mask of Gold.
Each hunter narrates a dream about gold they've been having ever since the Memphis wreckage washed ashore. How does the gold help you fulfill all your hopes and desires? The result was a 7 to 9 instead, and so you will keep the group together. You are all able to approach the Memphis. I will say, Sister Mary, that some of the faces inside the hull of the Memphis, on the outside facing, they're whispering to you, "You'll be joining us soon enough, dear. We've got space for you right here."
Sister Mary, just absolutely still unsure and horrified, brave enough now because of the marshal's words to get close to the ship, but I think she looks over at Slade and says, "Can you help them?"
I am
Slade,
too.
Horse has wandered close to the hull of the ship, and one of the bodies in the ship is feeding him a spectral apple, hand reaching down. Horse just
The
sort
ship
of
isn't.
puts it in his mouth and it just falls down. So, like, he doesn't know what to do with it.
Is the ship on the water?
It is sort of, yeah, the wreckage is on the water. The ship is sort of superimposed over it a little bit.
Because I wonder, so Horse can ride across water, but he will take on a spectral appearance if he does.
Okay.
If we're getting that close to the ship, does Horse look more ghostly?
I think he does. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, because he's interacting with the ghosts in the ship, right?
I think at this point, Slade is. I think tears are just kind of streaming freely down it. He is angry, crying, and he will look at Sister Mary and say, "We will help them."
Very good.
And he'll try and pull Horse back.
Indeed. Our final stop, Rob, Davy Freeman, the youngest cowboy on the crew, almost drowned at a river crossing in Oklahoma. His horse went in too deep and young Davy went under. At dinner, who is taking subtle but tender interest in Davy's well-being?
It's the next youngest cowboy who had been delighted with Davy's appearance in the crew, because that meant he was no longer the youngest. He was no longer the butt of the jokes and of the teasing and about his incompetence and the kind of pranks that they play on the new members of the wagon train, of the cattle train. And since Davy's accident, he's found himself just feeling an extraordinary sense of guilt over this, that he kind of, did he goad him one too many times? Did he tease him too hard to make him push himself harder than he was ready for? And he brings, Davy's huddled up in a blanket, and he brings Davy just a plate of, meat and beans and cornbread, and just sits by him trying to help him eat some of it, which he manages to eat a little, but and they don't really say anything to one another, but there's just spends a long time sitting next to him, watching over him.
Pamela, you step inside the warehouse and you recognize trouble right away. Henry Short is tied up and gagged, pressed up against a crate. And Daisy Pryor is there, ready to dispose of you cleanly where no one can see, inside the warehouse. She has her gun trained on you. What do you do? She seems fully ready to fire. There's no discussion here.
She just keeps it together and just looks at him and says, "So I take it this means no room for a partnership then?"
He says, "I'm a bit of a solo act, Miss Pickett. And in any case, my dear lady wants you out of the picture."
I see no reason why I am considered
Click,
a threat.
she's ready to shoot you.
Gonna pull out my Derringer.
You're gonna Tuscaloosa toolbox her.
Yeah.
You can always have an item from the list below up your sleeves exactly when you need it. Yep. You'll roll with advantage, but mark suspicion. I think it's going to cancel out your disadvantage from being marked by her.
Okay.
So it's going to be composure.
Yep.
Night move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
She's going to shoot me dead.
If she's going to shoot you dead, then she's going to shoot the boy dead too.
Yeah.
So go ahead and roll with
composure. But no disadvantage.
Yeah, just straight. Yeah.
Okay. That's a 10.
Nice. This is the end of the phase. So go ahead and just describe how you what do you do to her? How do you stop her? Do you kill her instead?
Oh yes. I mean, I'm definitely pulling out. I mean, I had my arms in my sleeves anyway, like as if I'm just like folding my arms, and then that's like, as soon as I heard the first click, I had the gun cocked and ready to go, and then just at the second click, Pamela pulls out the gun and then shoots her right between the eyes. And then,
nice.
And then she'll say to Dr. Clarkson, it's like, I believe in teaching by example.
He says, "Oh, thank goodness. She forced me to do it. I had no choice."
Sure you didn't.
"I'm so happy nothing happened to you, Miss Pickett." And he grabs you and hugs you close. "Let's free this poor boy.
Let's.
Now that we no longer have that malignancy to deal with." And he goes to untie the boy. "I'm certain the boy will confirm my version of events. Won't he?" We'll cut away from there. I mean, you're here at this ship. It's unclear. I mean, just the knowledge of the ship is really great context for whatever needs to happen with this threat, even though if there's no capital C clues being traded around. I think I just want to see how you all wrap up the scene individually, faced with this horror. What do? What's going on?
Sister Mary sees Slade, like the tears running from Slade's face, and it somehow everything just sort of pops into place for her, like a limb that's being adjusted all of a sudden, and she feels that fiery burn of ferocious faith, and she falls on her knees and prays with everything she has for the Lord and all of his angels to show the three of them how to help these people. That's me digging for a clue.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I'll probably just give you all a kind of group clue at the end anyway. So, Travis, what does this look like at the end for you?
Travis, in a similar vein, is kind of looking at Slade and says to him, "Mr. Slade, you reckon these folks want to be here, or is there someone keeping them here? Someone maybe we can do something about."
Someone who will pay. Someone we will make pay.
You just point me at him, Mr. Slade, and I'll finish him off.
Yes.
Horse is making whinnies of happiness at the ship. Ha, ha, ha. You can have the nature of the ship in its spectral form as a clue. That'll conclude the night phase. Ben, I know you have to go pretty quick, so I will let's go ahead and just do your dawn questions really fast. So if you have to run, you can do that. Did you get an echo in the night?
I couldn't fit one in.
Did you take time to puzzle over the human condition?
I tried to do a bit of that with the arguing about this land being old, even though
I'll
this
take
thicket.
Yeah, I thought that was a good conversation with this thicket. Did you punish a wayward soul by sending it back to the spirit realm?
Didn't get the chance.
You intend to, yes. But you also did answer a question as a group, so you get 2 XP. Okay, so you can bolt whenever you need to. We'll get your gold dream next time. Let's go to the dawn for everyone else. Okay, let's go to dawn questions for everyone else. Travis, did you experience an echo in the night? You're muted, Rob.
I could not figure out how to fit one in there.
Did you stick up for the little guy?
I mean, the thing I wanted to get to was kind of, Travis wants to, if the solution to this, the Memphis, is to free the souls, that's in a way sticking up for the little guy. But yeah, I don't know that I did it this week.
Yeah, it feels like a stretch. Did you show off with the firearm? I don't think you did that either.
Nope,
but you get
no.
1 XP for the answering a question. Let's go to Sister Mary. Yes, you answered a question. Did you get an echo in the night, Sister Mary?
Well, the heavy-handed
Oh, yeah.
popping the limb back into place.
Yeah. Did you try to convince someone to do the right thing?
Not specifically, I don't think so.
Did you speak on matters of theology with anyone who would listen? I assume that's what you were doing with Travis, but
yeah, that is absolutely what I was doing.
Pamela Pickett. Echo of the night, Pamela?
Yeah, I did it with the wail and the moan.
Right.
That sounded like cannon fire. Yeah.
Did you help the downtrodden to make yourself feel better?
I want to say with Henry Short.
Oh, yeah, I'm kind of into that. Yeah, I like it. Did you blame someone else for your mistake or crime?
Didn't get a chance to.
You did answer a question, though, so you get 3 there.
Okay.
You can mark new dawn questions if you wish. And gold dreams. That's all I need. Whoever wants to narrate their gold dream, go for it.
I think when Sister Mary was on her knees staring at this ship in horror, it brought back one of the dreams that she had just recently about this just opening up, you know how you just appear in a dream, opening up a chest and seeing it full of gold, and then moments later being in this beautiful cathedral in El Paso with all of the people of El Paso lining the pews and smiling and happy to be there and full of faith, and herself standing at the front near the altar, leading everybody in song, and the doors open and a wash of light. In steps her lady, her angel from London, who walks up the aisles and lays a hand on her shoulder and says, "You've done very well, my child." And Sister Mary just feels this beam of happiness right into her core and is shocked out of it once again by a wail from the ship.
Good. Pamela or Travis?
Travis dreams of just, running gold coins running through his fingers. It's like, something he would have read about in one of his dime novels, treasure. And in his mind, it's in his dream, it's enabled him to buy back the property where he and Wyatt grew up. And, set himself up for a respectable life. But as he's sitting at the table in the house there, counting the remaining treasure because there's plenty left over, coins running through his fingers, and some of them spill onto the floor, and he picks up more, and they're running through his fingers, and more spill onto the floor. And those coins that have fallen to the floor start to coalesce together, and a form rises up and reveals itself as a shining, gold-clad woman who reaches a hand out toward him. And he knows that this can only ever be a dream, because this is not his fate.
I think that when Pamela rolled in, she'd been having the same type of dream, but it got more elaborate as it went on, especially now that the Memphis is here. And this dream is of a golden theater that she was able to purchase and own. And she's able to stage these one-woman shows where she is able to be all of these different characters, just changing them by like a simple costume switch or a shawl placed in the right way. And then she is declaiming like this show on stage, being all these different characters from all these different plays, and like Shakespeare and any of the current playwrights, or just reading books, and gold coins are falling out of her mouth. So all the lies become worth something. And she's able to speak these lies and give these gold coins to the audience, and they're cheering and hollering for her. And she is listening to this applause and appreciating that this golden theater is hers. But it will always forever be a dream, that the lies will be accepted.
I love it. I don't think there's any other Janus mask, is there? Yeah. So that concludes the session. Let's do stars and wishes. All right. Who wants to go first?
I can go first.
Go ahead.
I really, really liked the scene with Tarnish and the boy. I thought that was just so fun to see these really distinct personalities that we really haven't. I mean, we've got a glimpse of Tarnish, but really just come out and interact in such a way that was really entertaining, but also I don't know. It kind of felt like the boy would grow up to be Tarnish, you know? That's what it kind of the little gist of it I kind of got from that. And I thought it was just really, really fun to see that. I really loved the scene of the marshal with the commander of the rallies. I thought that was really tense. Because you know play and it's a really tricky thing to do when you have character knowledge and you're playing something and your character doesn't know the same thing, and it's just that can be really tricky to not let that really interfere with how the role play goes. And I mean, Rob nailed it, but I just thought it was so tense to watch, like what's going to happen. is is there going to be a fight? Is there going to be a gunfight between these two? Like, and it was just really fun scene. I love seeing Slade with everybody. Slade's interactions with every character is always great. I really liked his interactions with Mrs. Thicket. Speaking of Mrs. Thicket, I love it. I love that she's here. I love all the St. James Street Ghost callbacks. That was just so wonderful to have in a game or in this game. It was just really good. The between energy. Oh, and the boy reminded me of the Dapper Boy a lot, and I liked that too. Yeah.
I really enjoyed the contrast that was going on between the scale of the Memphis threat and the scale of the Blue Boy threat, which were the two main ones we focused on this week. That, you know, one is quite domestic and small scale, even though it's potentially dangerous, and the other one is like this ghost ship that's shelling the town, and it, you know, it's a really interesting balance that was going on there between the two things being coexisting in the same session. I really liked seeing the emotional side of Slade toward the end there. That was interesting. You know, that's the first time we've seen really anything but stoicism from him. So that, you know, that feels like we're digging a new level into that character, which is great. I wishes I really want to figure out a good way to wrap up the Memphis, because kind of have some threads for an idea, but I felt like, especially at the start of this session, I was really like and Travis, I think it was appropriate. Travis was as well. He doesn't know what to do, and I didn't know what to do. And yeah, I'm looking forward to us figuring out a way to handle it.
I really enjoyed this session. I mean, not just for the bits that I got to do, but I mean, like, just being able to watch the scenes of everybody else. I mean, like, you know, that knife edge tension that Travis was handling with the leader of the Rurales, and then Sister Mary and Slade over at the Stackpoles. I love the Stackpoles location. Holy crap. I mean, everything there was amazing. And then like that general sense of like, okay, opulence, but I mean, there's sinister, just so sinister underneath. And it's like, you know, you could just like laugh off the Blue Boy, but you really can't. I mean, there's something behind there, and it was wonderful to see, especially when we were painting the scenes and just like, you know, mentioning all the different things that we found. As soon as you said French, Jason, I was like, gotta include that sun mask in there somewhere. And yeah, I mean, like my wish would be, oh, and then I third the whole thing with Slade's emotion at the end. I mean, again, like, you know, like the inevitable being so stoic, but then being indignant and righteous about what was going on with the Memphis. I mean, that was an amazing picture. I mean, of the ship, and then like, you know, the wreckage, and then the thing that's underneath. I mean, that was an amazing layered picture that you were presenting, and I could see it all. I could see all the scenes today, to be honest. And my wish would be to figure out Ghost Be Gone. Originally, I was thinking it was going to be just something simple, like with the 4 or the 6 complexity. But now I'm kind of thinking, I'm like, maybe I want to get one more clue and see if I can work it in for the highest complexity resolve, which I've never really been interested in before. But I mean, like now I kind of am. So
yeah, Stars, I had a great time. A lot of great scenes. I also really enjoyed all the various like side character interactions with Pamela Pickett. That was all really fun. And it was really, and I agree, Rob. I really enjoy the stakes of each of the three active threats are so different, right? And they all have such different implications for the story, for the world. And so yeah, I really love all that. Just really good stuff. The stuff at the Memphis was really fun. Just this kind of strange, like horror hell kind of sequence with all the characters is really good fun. I love playing Horse. Horse is a lot of fun. I really like how Travis is like assuming this mantle of Wyatt's, right? I think it's really interesting. You see this real like kind of development in the character as they're kind of taking ownership of the situation, but also knowing that like they've been dealt a really bad hand, like you've been given a really terrible job to fix, or a really terrible thing to fix. So that's been really fun to see that happen. And I also really liked how Sister Mary just kind of like dropped to the ground and started like praying wildly, upon seeing the true form of the Memphis or whatever it is. My suspicion is that whatever this is just using the wreckage of the Memphis as an anchor point, to do whatever it's doing, So yeah, I love all that. Really, really good stuff. And Wish, you have all your mastermind clues now, so no more threats will come into play. The only one that can possibly come into play is the one from the kid playbook, and whether that happens or not, who knows? But it's up to Rob. But yeah, I think it'll be curious to see how we kind of like start to push towards the sort of finale of the campaign. So yeah, as we wrap up these threads. Any other stars or wishes?
Just a quick wish. I really like how Pamela is sort of a lone wolf agent, but I am excited for when there's more interaction between the whole group.
Yeah. Let's have a stinger. The tunnels beneath the church. We can hear underground, very, very faintly, the wailing of the cannon fire in the far distance. Benito Diaz hears it, nods, knowing that his people are doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is fundamentally keeping all of you out of El Paso. He's down in the tunnel, and he has managed to find the vault. He has knocked away some rubble to reveal an engraving of Xipe Totec, their symbol, on the tunnel wall. Presumably, the gold is here. He's covered in sweat and grime and dirt. He cannot figure out how to get in. He does not know how to get in. He's tried to pry it. He's tried to do all sorts of things. He is exhausted. He's got tools laying all around. He keeps looking at dynamite, thinking maybe that's the way to do it. And as he sits there, puzzling over what to do, a noose gets thrown around his neck. And he as Edward Reynolds chokes the life out of him. And then Clarence says, "Oh, they haven't made the vault that can keep me out, Mr. Reynolds. I've got this well in hand." And he puts his hands into the vault and does his magic. And the door falls away, slides away, revealing bars of brilliant glimmering gold. Clarence looks back at Mr. Reynolds, who has now killed Benito, and says, well, I think that will be quite enough money for Mrs. Reynolds to take her next steps. And Edward says, yes, I suppose it will. Wave goodbye.